So, Lucifer, Satan, and the devil they're technically three separate entities. And the first two, Lucifer and Satan, weren't even specific individuals. So let's get to Lucifer first. So Lucifer is actually just a word that means the morning star. This is a reference to the planet Venus. And several times in the Old Testament, including in Isaiah 14 to 20 and Ezekiel 28, you have a reference to this, to this Lucifer. And it's not really, Lucifer isn't really a specific person, it's sort of a title. And that's because the morning star, this bright star, Venus, was often linked with kings. In this case, in Isaiah, it's the king of Babylon, and in Ezekiel, it's the king of Tyre. And in those stories, these kings had been punished for doing something against Israel. They had transgressed against God's chosen people, and because of that, they were punished and they were cast down. And this is where you get this idea of Lucifer being too proud and being cast down from heaven. It wasn't about an angel, it wasn't about some cosmic evil, it was about a foreign king. And that's what Lucifer is in the Old Testament. As far as Satan isn't an individual either. Satan is a job title. It means an opposer, someone who works against someone. Satan worked for Yahweh. It was one of Yahweh's agents. And if you think back to the story of Job, Yahweh commissions this Satan, which was just one of his angels that works for him, to find out if Job is actually faithful. And so this angel goes to work against Job, and that's what the job title means. It's someone who works against. It's an opposer. And so this angel goes to work against Job and, tries to turn Job against Yahweh to see if Job is actually faithful or not. And the conclusion that's drawn by the end is that Job is indeed faithful. And so the Satan has done a good job. He fully tested Job and found out that yes, indeed, he was faithful. But the first appearance of Satan, or of a Satan, is in the Garden of Eden story. And not the serpent. The serpent is not a Satan. It's never said to be a Satan. But at the end of the story, when Adam and Eve are kicked out of the garden, Yahweh places an angel at the entrance to the garden to block their path. And this angel is given a flaming sword. And his purpose is to stand against anyone who tries to regain entry to the Garden of Eden. And this is your first appearance of a Satan in the Old Testament. And you see one of these angels with this exact description appear again in the story of Balaam, when Balaam is going off to consult some kings, and when he does this, Yahweh wants to prevent him from giving advice to these kings because they are working against Israel. So he places a Satan in his path, and just like the one at the Garden of Eden, this angel appears on the road carrying a flaming sword and serves the same purpose. He is standing against Balaam to prevent him from traveling down this road and giving advice to these kings. And then your final one, the devil, or basically this cosmic evil that works against Yahweh. He really doesn't have much of a place in the Old Testament. He's not really part of that theology. The Jews really didn't have that concept. This belonged to some sectarian Jews, such as the Essenes. You see this in the Qumran sect, who produced the Dead Sea Scrolls. You see this in the Book of Enoch, and of course in Christianity. And this cosmic evil comes from Zoroastrianism. They have this entity called Ahriman the Opposer, which could be translated Ahriman ha-Satan, which is why he later becomes linked with Satan. And so this cosmic evil that was invented by Zoroastrianism, it became part of Jewish theology, especially with sectarian Jews and then later Christians. And this was really beneficial for them because after the introduction of Zoroastrianism, they began to drift toward monotheism. Zoroastrianism is where the idea of monotheism comes from in Jewish culture. And so they became monotheistic, and this introduced a problem. How do we explain evil in the world if we can't blame it on other gods? We can't just say that our God did it, which they actually did for a time, which you see in Amos and again in Isaiah 45:7, where it says, I form the light and create darkness, I make peace and create evil, I, Yahweh, do all these things. So they didn't really like that idea that Yahweh was the origin of all evil. And so this idea of Ahriman the opposer was a solution. It was a way to solve the problem of the origin of evil. And so they adopted this idea of this cosmic evil, this devil. And then later on, by the time Christianity rolls around, they have begun the process of merging all of these different entities. The rebellious kings, such as the king of Tyre, these Lucifers, these morning stars, the Satan, who works against people, and only really because his name matches up with the idea of this cosmic evil, the Ahriman HaSatan, and then, of course, this cosmic evil itself, Ahriman, along with other things such as pretty much any pagan deity, older versions of Jewish deities, including the god Baal-Hadad, and also the great chaotic water dragon, Leviathan, that Yahweh defeated. All of these kind of get bunched together into one thing, and that becomes the new cosmic evil, the great villain of the story. And so that's how Satan and Lucifer and this great cosmic evil all become one big thing. Originally, they were completely separate characters with completely different purposes.